I'm really pleased to be here in this lovely, cold city of yours, Boston, and I'm so happy that MIT have invited me today all the way from rainy Manchester in the UK. We got anyone here from the UK? Has anyone heard of the UK? Okay. The title of today's seminar is The Startup Code, Secrets to Successfully Marketing Your Tech Startup in a Noisy World. And we're going to be teaching this by sharing how I grew 3 startups from scratch and sold them all within 3 years.
And I'll be talking about my experiences mentoring over 50 MIT startups here through the Venture Mentoring Service, and the work I've done with 20 clients in my own business, getting them hundreds of clients over the last couple of years. So first, let me introduce Kenny. And Kenny, again, thank you for joining us from the UK today. So Kenny is a lead generation expert. He likes to call it client attraction. He thinks it's cute. And he's been invited to speak worldwide on this topic for a number of years. And this starts going way back to school. You know, when Kenny was in school, he started his first business. And it's still up there. Whilst is British speak for while. Just want to get that out of the way. I'll be correcting Kenny's English as we go through this tonight. And he did so well with that first business that he dropped out of school. Now, of all the things Kenny's teaching tonight, please don't do that. Definitely stay here, grad students too. But it worked very well in this case. He's actually started and sold 4 businesses, including 2 tech startups. And some of that experience is what he's going to be sharing tonight, including how he did it with one of his companies in under just 2 years. And all of this has led to Kenny getting to travel the world, talking about lead generation.
Thank you, Andrew. And I will welcome Andrew as well. So, who is Andrew Percey? Well, he's one of you guys. He's ex-MIT. He's got 2 degrees from MIT. He then went off to Silicon Valley for 14 years, working in engineering and marketing. And he's the founder of Prometheus Internet Marketing, based here in Boston. And he's advisor to MIT startups via the MIT VMS.
Let me just say something about that. How many of you know VMS, the Venture Mentoring Service? Well, not too many. So it's a fantastic service here on campus for MIT students and alumni. They have over 200 MIT alumni who have run their own successful small businesses who come back and volunteer their time to mentor folks like you who are trying to do a startup. And so if you are trying to do a startup or you're already part of a startup, this is a fantastic group to plug into. Very friendly, very helpful, all free, and you'll be surprised at some of the amazing advice you can get through that group. Definitely check it out.
So here's what you'll learn during this presentation today. It's a how-to presentation, so we're going to be sharing how to do a lot of stuff, starting with increasing your probability of success by choosing the right markets. Very important that you do that as a tech startup. Fully engage your prospects by understanding the heartbeat of your audience, so digging deep to really get under the skin of your audience and understand them inside out. See what's working for your competitors with a deep spying mission. So I'm going to share some tools you can use to spy on your competitors. Differentiate your business by uniquely positioning your products and services. We'll cover positioning well as well today. Create an effective business presence, both online and offline. Produce a website designed to convert prospects into customers. Generate the right traffic at the right pace. Quickly engender the critical trust required in order to make sales. And we're going to go through this with 5 steps. The first one being the most important step. It's what I like to call it's the missing link, because so many tech startups don't do this thoroughly. So we're going to cover this quite thoroughly. Both Andrew and I will do this section together. Then I'm going to cover how how to create the right positioning for not just your brand and your product and services, but you as well as the leader of your business. Then we'll cover compelling messaging. Andrew will cover that. Then Andrew will do engaging presence, so creating an engaging presence. And then I will finish off with effective channels.
All right, thanks, Kenny. So to begin with, why is this important right now? Well, whether you realize it or not, we're all bombarded by about 5,000 sales and marketing messages every day, from signs around campus to billboards to everything you look at online. And that's a lot to compete with if you're trying to get out there and get a share of those eyeballs. You're competing not just with other startups, but with a lot of established businesses who've been doing this for a long time, have a lot of money behind them to get themselves out there. You've got to find a way to weave your way through that and create your niche and reach your audience. And one thing I really want to stress is that successful marketing is going to start the moment you get your startup idea. You can't wait until your product or service is ready to go before you start thinking about marketing. When you think about marketing in advance, the market research you do should be shaping the development of your product or service. It's going to help you understand what you have a sense of what you think your customers want and need. This will help you understand if that's actually true, if you're designing something they're actually going to want to buy. It will shape the messaging you come out with, learning how to speak in the language of your customers and prioritize different ways to reach your target market, which you need. For that, you need market research to understand. And early campaigns enable you to build up a list, a marketing list, even before you launch. So when you come to launch day, you've got a list of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people ready and eager to hear about your product or service and ready to evangelize it for you. You can do all of that when you start your marketing early and give it the priority it needs. Based on this, does anybody feel like they're already behind? So let us help you with that today. In this first step, we're going to talk about what is great market research, why it's so important, how to use Google to mine for data, and in particular, a great tool for doing that, and how to move your market emotionally by spying on your customers. And there are lots of ethical ways of doing this spying. We're going to share some of the more effective ones. First, a quick definition. What makes great market research? It's the process of gathering, analyzing, and interpreting highly relevant information about customers' wants, needs, and desires within a market. And really the main focus here is the customer's wants, needs, and desires. We'll be talking about a lot of ways tonight to get that feeling, to get the sense of what it is they really need, and then how you can deliver that to them effectively. Why is it so important? Well, imagine not doing any market research, coming up with this wonderful idea, launching it, and then hearing crickets. A lot of us have had that experience ourselves. You can waste a lot of time and money. You can learn so much more from even a little bit of work, and we're going to show you some very effective, fast tools for this. It allows you to tailor your solutions, right? You've got probably not just one market segment, but many, and you can tailor your solutions for each one if you understand what their particular problems and pains are. And relevancy is really a critical idea. When you can be relevant to your market, and that comes across in all of your messaging, that helps them know, like, and trust you. They understand that you get them, and that makes them more eager to listen to what you have to say. It increases your targeted traffic because you know who to go after when you're being relevant to them. It increases conversion. If you're speaking in their language, talking about their problems when they land on your website, that increases the chance of them taking the action that you want. And it increases retention. A company that understands you, that gives you the products or services you really want and need, that's one you're going to stay with for a long time. So a lot of what we're talking about tonight is how to find that relevancy to your target market and how to communicate that so they understand that you're relevant to them. Now, Google is a great place to start. Depending on the statistic you look at, Google serves between 2/3 and 80% of all search engine traffic. And that's about 3.5 billion searches per day. And I also just read recently that about 15% of those searches every day are search terms that no one has ever typed into Google before. That's astounding to think about. 1 billion searches a day that no one has ever typed into a search engine before. That's a tremendous amount of information that Google has that we can access. And when you do this, there's a lot you can learn. You can learn the keywords that your target market is entering that would lead them to your solutions, your products and services. You can find out how often they're searching on this. What's the volume of interest out there online? You can find out what the competition is doing. Do you have a lot of competitors in this space? The commerciality of these searches. Are these people searching more for information, or are they searching because they're ready to buy? And you need to treat people differently based on those types of searches. And you can see trends, right? You may think you have a wonderful product idea, but what if over time, searches have been going down and down and down? That's important information to find out early. So what I want to show is the Google AdWords Keyword Planner. This is a really valuable tool. I use it in my business every single week. You can access it with just a free Google AdWords account, and it gives you tremendous information. So, I've worked with a number of startups here that focus on energy efficiency, right? That's a big push here at MIT. So I picked an example of what a consumer might search for if they're looking for energy efficiency products. And it could be something as simple as lower electric bill. So I typed in lower electric bill to this tool, and Google came back with this and dozens of more pages of related search terms that people are searching on in this space. And you can learn a lot from this. So what it's saying here, for lower electric bill, there are 320 searches in the US every month on that exact phrase. There are a lot of competitors bidding on these keywords to show their ads, and they're paying around $6 for a single click on an ad when somebody searches on this phrase. So once you get that in your mind about how this works, and then look at all the variations, there's a lot to divine here. So number one, here's a variation of how to lower your electric bill. And there's more searches on that. And what that tells me, terms like how to, show that somebody is looking for information. They want to learn a little bit more about how this works. They may not be a buyer yet. They're earlier in the sales funnel. But that's very different from something like ways to lower your electric bill, which could be saying that they're actually looking for something to do today to bring that electric bill down. They may be willing to buy a product or service today that helps them do this. And that assumption is pretty well corroborated by the click price. Advertisers are paying $20 for a single click on their ad when somebody types in ways to lower your electric bill. And that says a lot. That really stands out in this column. Now, you might look at this and say, well, gosh, that's a lot of competition. I don't want to, fight here and have to pay that much. But what it also tells you is there's money to be made here, right? People are actually buying, and therefore advertisers are spending. So don't necessarily be afraid of competition. It can help point you in the direction of a good market. So there's a lot to learn from this tool. Put in the keywords that you think your prospects will be searching for and see what you can learn from this. The other tool I wanted to mention briefly, oh yeah, go ahead.
In the Google AdWords, what account are you using? Do you use your personal email or you create one for your business? How does it work? You say it's a free account.
Yeah, it's a free account. I don't recall offhand if they have an email requirement. You may be able to do it with either. And then using this tool is free. You used to be able to access it without signing up. You just had to type in a CAPTCHA every time, which is a little annoying. You might still be able to do that, I'm not sure. Yeah?
Is it possible to estimate the market size from any of this?
Well, you can, because one thing you can do, you can download this entire thing in a spreadsheet. You can add up this entire column. And I can tell you right now, just from this front page, there are thousands and thousands of searches per month on related terms here. And you can compare that to other searches and start to get at least a relative sense of how big these markets are. It won't give you an exact number, but a relative number. Okay. The other quick tool I want to show is Google Trends. That's related to this. And here you're typing in a keyword and it's showing you what happens over time in terms of search volume. So for the term electric bill, that's gone up considerably from 2005 to 2014 in terms of number of people searching on this and related terms. So this is another way to get a sense of, the market I'm going after, is this a growing market, a shrinking market, what may be happening here? And you can compare this to a number of terms that you want. So a couple of very useful tools. I just want to briefly mention a couple of others. If you use Google AdWords, we'll be talking a little bit more about pay-per-click campaigns, Google AdWords. But if you use it, one of the best features is that they will tell you the exact search terms that everybody types in when they see your ad and click on your ad. And that's an incredibly valuable treasure mine of information there. Another great tool, this one you have to pay for, SEMrush. It's only $69 a month, and I think it's a great deal because you can enter any URL, enter your competitors' URLs, and it will show you all the free organic search terms that website ranks for, as well as all the paid ad search terms that it ranks for, as well as the actual ads that they're running. So you can do an incredible amount of competitive research and really get a sense of what they're doing, what can you leverage, what should you avoid, just by using this single tool. And one other one, this is a free tool also, a very easy and helpful keyword generator tool. Again, if you typed in electric bill, it would come back with hundreds of variations on that to give you more ideas of things that people might be typing in and searching for related to your product or service. All right, now I'm going to pass it back to Kenny for the next piece here.
So we're going to look at how you can spy on your competitors to discover how to move your market emotionally. And to do this, we need to understand the 3 hot buttons that cause your prospects to take action. Does anyone know what these 3 hot buttons are? I'm thinking Tiffany might know, or Marty might know. Pain is the biggest hot button that gets people to take action. So it's very important that we understand your audience's pains. What's their biggest problems? If you look at the stock market, for example, stocks go up in a very gradual way. But if there's any kind of bad news on that stock, it will drop dramatically. And that's because people are in fear. They're scared of losing out. And that's why pain is the biggest motivator. The opposite of that is pleasure. What are people's desires? What do they want to get from life? And then the third one is curiosity. And curiosity is the emotional hot button that will get people to see you. It will grab their attention. And I'm going to be showing you later on in the presentation some examples of this, some examples of headlines that pique people's curiosity. So let's show you this ninja tool to see what your prospects want and need so that you can find the hooks. Because you need hooks to grab attention, you need hooks so that you can understand what to use in your marketing to really be so on message with your target audience that every time you communicate with them, the hairs on the back of the neck should stand on end. And it's not just with your marketing as well, it's designing your products as well. This will really help you design your products properly. So the tool we're going to use, there's lots of tools you can use, but I like this tool because it's free, and there's a premium version as well. And it's called buzzsumo.com. And by the way, we're going to give you a way of getting the slides at the end of today. So don't worry too much about taking notes. So it's called buzzsumo.com. And as you can see there, they say it's been designed to analyze what content performs best for any topic or competitor. So you can actually put in a keyword, or you can put in a competitor, or you can put in a URL of a website that you know shares the same audience as you. So in this example today, we're going to put in entrepreneur.com, the home of Entrepreneur magazine. And what happens is, when you put this in, what it does is it goes to entrepreneur.com and it analyzes all of their articles. And on entrepreneur.com, there's hundreds of thousands of articles. And what it does is it pulls out the top performing ones. So with the free version here, you can get up to 6 URLs. So they're the top 6. And what it does is it analyzes how much engagement there's been. So how many shares on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, etc. So as you can see there, the top one has had just about 130,000 shares. So this is of interest to me. If entrepreneur.com is my competitor, I want to know what is engaging their audience. So when you click on this, forget setting goals, focus on this instead. You can see that it's forget setting goals, focus on systems instead. So for me, I can see a possible pain in there, and I can see a possible desire in there as well. The pain I can see is they're possibly overwhelmed with goals. And the desire is to be more productive. So what I'm looking out for now is a little bit of confirmation of that. So we go over to this slide again, go down to this one here. So that's 2 out of the top 4 there that are based around productivity. So let go, keep it simple, move quickly, secrets to being a productive entrepreneur. So there's a hook straight away. Productivity. This audience want to be productive. So we go to this one here, how to become a millionaire by age 30. Can anyone see any hooks here? Raise your hand if you can see any hooks. What hook can you see there? Yeah, and what kind of pleasure? What are they looking for? Yeah, absolutely. So they're looking to be rich. So I'm looking for confirmation, and lo and behold, 2 out of the top 6 there. 9 things rich people do differently every day. So I'm assuming here that they're probably a bit dissatisfied financially, this audience. Let's go back to that one as well, and there's another hook in there. Can anyone see another hook? Yes, sir. Yeah, there's definitely curiosity in there, for sure. And there's another hook. There's an age-related hook there. So how to become a millionaire by age 30. So there might be, with this audience, some age sensitivity going on here. So let's look for confirmation. 2 out of the top 5 there. Think you're too old to be an entrepreneur? Think again. So that gives me confirmation that there definitely is some age sensitivity in here. So there's a couple of hooks there. So let's just go through those hooks. The pain that we can see just by analyzing the top 6. I mean, you can get the premium account and analyze the top 100, top 200 and go really deep. But just through analyzing the top 6, we've got some good hooks here. Pain, unsatisfied financially, and also the age sensitivity thing there, I'm too old, and also possibly overwhelmed with goals. And then desire, their pleasure. They want to be productive and get financial freedom whilst they're still young enough to do it. And then let's have a look at some of the curiosity points. So if we look at the first one, forget, fill in the blank, focus on this instead. So if you were targeting this audience and you were doing a marketing campaign towards this audience, which you can do via Facebook, for example, then you might want to borrow some of these super powerful headlines that they've used for your marketing campaign. So focus on this. Sorry, forget, fill in the blank, focus on this instead. How to, fill in the blank. 9 things, fill in the blank, or 10 things, 21 things, 21 ways, fill in the blank. Secrets to being, fill in the blank. think you're fill in the blank, think again. And also, we notice 2 out of the top 5 there are infographics as well. So if you're marketing to this audience, you might want to use infographics as well. So there's the hooks there just by analyzing their top 6. Imagine how deep you can go if you analyze the top 100 articles of your competitor's website. So in this first step, we covered what is great market research, why market research is so important, how to use Google to mine for data, the perfect tool to mine Google, and then how to move your market emotionally. So now we're going to go into right positioning. So we're going to cover what is great positioning, why positioning is so important, and how to pre-frame positioning, so how to set the scene early on. So what is positioning? Well, a really good author on a book called Positioning, Al Rees, says, positioning is the mind of the prospect. It's how you differentiate your solution in their mind. It cuts through the clutter. It focuses on the perceptions of the prospect. So why position yourself? Why do you want to set the scene early on before you've even had any contact with your prospects? Well, it motivates buying. It reduces the sales cycle. So if you position yourself with a level of authority, that already starts building that know and trust in the important know, like, and trust. And it improves buyer perceptions and, in a lot of cases, can command premium prices. If you look at Apple, for example, their positioning is on the premium level. I mean, they're quite a rare breed because they go mass market on the premium level. And like Apple, great positioning will tell a memorable story and allows you to sell value rather than time, which is really important if you are looking to go into consultancy, for example. And it allows you to filter people. And you can filter people in, your ideal clients, your personas. And it allows you to filter people out, the bad fits. And Dell computers do a really good job of this. They actually do not want first-time buyers. So they will actually make it difficult for Granny Edna to get into their sales cycle. They don't want 6 calls from Granny Edna on the first day she buys her computer to find out how to switch the damn thing on. So they filter them out, and it allows you to filter people out as well and filter people in. Now, there's different, depending on your product, you might want to position yourself at the high end, you might want to position yourself mid-range, or you might want to position yourself at the mass market lower end. In this example, I'm going to show you how to pre-frame high value, because we don't have time to go through them all. And I sell high value products and solutions, so I know this level really, really well. So the first thing you want to do if you're wanting to position yourself on the higher end is to communicate that you are exclusive. And you can do this a few different ways. You can be limited, so to a certain number of people, or available for a short period of time, or both. If you look at Apple again, they do this great. They conveniently run out of products on launch day and have people queuing around the block because they want to position that they're exclusive even though they're mass market. You could do it as private, so not open to everyone, invitation only. You could do it as being selective. There's a selection process. And if they get through, they are the chosen ones. Founders Card do this really well. They have a card that give perks to members, to founders of businesses. And you can only join Founders Card if you get invited by another member. And then it clearly says on the website, even then, there's only a 70% chance that you will actually get through and become a member. And then when you do become a member, you have to pay them $600 a year for the privilege as well. So it's really good. They communicate exclusivity really well and pre-frame that. To pre-frame high value, you can also communicate special. So use any differentiators you have, be significant. Communicate any niche that you might have. And niche is the correct word, by the way. It's not niche. It's definitely niche. And if a lot of people don't want to niche. They want to broaden out. But niching will command premium prices. So an example of this is I've got different friends who are in marketing. I know a lot of people in marketing. Some are generalist marketers and some are niche marketers. All of the niche marketers, so for example, a marketer who works with dentists only, so it's a dentist marketer, they always earn a lot more than the generalist marketers. Are you unusual? Show why you're different from the norm. Don't be scared of being unusual. Are you mysterious? Do you hold the secret? Do you hold a key, and are you going to reveal it when people join? Do something that they will remember you by as well. Are you unique? Communicate it if you are. If you're new, communicate this. There's a lot of startups that are so scared of saying, listen, I'm new. Sometimes I've had startups come to me and say, should I kind of lie and say that we've been running longer? I'm like, no. The term brand new sells so many products and services. So shout from the rooftops that you're brand new. If you're the only, if you're the best, if you're the most, just let people know. And also create your own terminology or acronyms. You'll see good marketers do this all the time. People who attend my webinars, I say, if you join my program, by the end of it, you'll enter the influence jet stream. It's just a made-up terminology, but it's attached to me, and I own that terminology. So how can you uniquely solve their problem? So I want to just give you two examples of different values being pre-framed really, really well. The first one is this restaurant here. It's a friend of mine that owns it. He's called Michel Roux Jr. and he's a well-known chef in the UK. He's on TV on BBC with my wife, actually. They did do a show called Food and Drink. He's the food, she's the drink. And he owns this restaurant, and it's called La Gavroche, and it's in Mayfair in London. And he wants to pre-frame exclusivity, high value. And you have to book 6 months in advance to get in. If you contrast that with McDonald's, they don't want to do that. They're mass market, and they're happy being mass market. So work out what level you want to position your product or service as well. So in this section, we covered what is great positioning, why positioning is so important, and how to pre-frame positioning. So I'll move over to Andrew now for compelling messaging.
Thanks, Kenny. And I spend most of my focus in my business working on compelling messaging for my clients, helping them understand how to speak to their target customers as effectively as they can. Captivate them, engage them, get them to take the next action by speaking to them properly. So I'll show you some ways to do that, how to take it to the next level and craft a unique selling proposition that is really going to reach those ideal prospects. And a little bit about the don't make me think attitude, and I'll share what that is at the end here. So first, when you're trying to speak to your prospects, there are several things you want to always keep in mind. Number one, use their vocabulary, not yours, and definitely don't use your jargon. That's something that a lot of us are guilty of, especially in the tech world, inserting our favorite jargon, expecting people to understand what we're talking about. Unless all of your target prospects are also techies in the same techie realm, right? I'm in electrical engineering. Unless all your prospects are there with you, then you're going to lose people, and that's going to cost you. So make sure you're speaking in simple language that people can understand and tell their friends about, right? If it's something that's worth sharing. Speak to their problems and pains. This is how you show the relevancy, how you show that you understand what they're going through, and therefore, you should believe me when I say that my solution is going to help. Then you can position your solution as the perfect remedy to those problems and pains, and you can try to segment your messaging to different audiences. Again, you might be lucky and have a product or service that only targets one specific market subsegment. But for most of us, we might have 3 or 10 or 50 different market segments we're going after. You need to tailor the discussion for each one, which can be a lot of work, right? But the payoff is enormous. So let's see this in action. Here's an example of speaking to prospects poorly. Artificial intelligence as a service. Orbit is a technology company building a range of API services that learn and think like humans. Too much jargon, right? So artificial intelligence as a service, that comes from the SaaS world, software as a service, which many of you may be comfortable with, but a lot of people out there are not. And this company, by the way, has products for consumers, for people who have no idea what they're talking about on this page. This is not speaking to them well. API services. Who knows what API stands for? Okay, again, at MIT, I wouldn't be too surprised. A lot of people would have no idea. You're losing people right away, and you're not talking about any problems that you're solving. You're just saying these are the features, right? So this is an example of speaking to prospects very poorly. Contrast this with unleash your inner backpacker. Plan your trip in a fast and optimized way, minimizing the time and total cost of your trip. No jargon, very simple and clear. Anyone can understand this. Anyone can tell their family and friends and colleagues about this. And he's getting right to the pain points, right? If you're a backpacker, you're going to spend a lot of time planning trips. It's time consuming. It costs money to plan. The trips themselves cost money. They're saying, use our site. We'll help you with all of that. We take away those pains. We help solve these problems. Great example of speaking well to your target market. Now take this to the next level. What's the science behind this? How do you actually put together a unique selling proposition that's going to resonate that well? And there's 5 pieces to this. Number 1, what do you do? You'd be surprised how many websites you can go to and spend 30 seconds looking at and still have no idea what they do. I'll show you a great example of that in a few minutes. Number 2, how is what you do special? Right? If someone's finding you online, they're probably also finding 20 or 30 of your competitors. How are you going to stand out from them? Number 3, who is it for? Right? When I come to a website, I want to know right away if this is something that is for me. How do I benefit? The poor example I showed you before was just listing features, API services, artificial intelligence. The good example was listing benefits. Plan your trip faster, save money. People care about benefits first, and then they'll be interested to hear about the features, maybe, if at all. But it's the benefits that are going to resonate first. And very importantly, why should they believe you? You can say anything you want, especially on your own website. You can put up anything you want, make any claim you want. Why should anyone believe what you have to say about it? You have to have other people vouching for you in some way. You have to have trust factors on your website that indicate other people believe in you and believe in what you can do. And I'll show some examples of that too. All 5 of these pieces have to come together. If you think about it, every time you visit a new website that you're not familiar with, your mind goes through this checklist. You're trying to figure out right away the answers to all of these questions, especially the first 4. And then if you see that this looks like a good fit, then why should I believe you? This is very critical for all new prospects to your website or to any business presence. And here's a quick tried and true format for doing this. Have a headline, a very clear headline like on that backpacker page. Have a subheadline that gives a next level of detail, again, focusing on benefits. Have a single clear call to action. You'll see, again, so many examples out there of websites that you visit and you think, okay, this is interesting, but what do I do now? Right? They haven't made it easy for you to figure it out. Don't make your visitors confused. Give them an easy next step. And then trust factors. You can put testimonials on your website. especially with photos, video testimonials, put together case studies before and after what you've done for your clients. With numbers, make it concrete. If you have badges, certifications, these are all great ways to show and give a feeling that people should believe what you have to say, that this is a company that they should listen to. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to make this happen. I got a great question last night when we did this, by the way, which was, what if you're a brand new company and you don't have all these trust factors? Well, one thing to think about, what's one thing that pretty much everybody in this room has in common? MIT. That's a fantastic trust factor right there. Just talking about your MIT education, affiliations, connections builds automatic trust. And to take it to the next step, you're not going to go out and get 50 clients at once for your new startup. You're going to get one client. And make sure that one client becomes a fantastic case study. Right? Get them to be willing to do this. Get the before numbers, get the after numbers, get a great testimonial, and use that very first client to start to build these trust factors. It doesn't take a lot. That first case study is 80% of what you need. So here's an example of a poor, unique selling proposition. Leaving the past behind, creating a better tomorrow, designer and front-end developer. How many questions does this answer? What do you do? Well, I get a sense that you probably design websites, software, something like that, right? Who is it for? I have no idea. How do I benefit? I don't know. What makes you unique? This headline, leaving the past behind, creating a better tomorrow, any website could say that. That could be NASA. That could be Starbucks, right? What is that telling me? There's no added value here, and there are no trust factors, no reasons to believe what he's saying, even if I understood what he was saying, right? So, great example of a very poor, unique selling proposition on a business website. Now, let's contrast that with FreshBooks. How many people here know FreshBooks? I use them for all my accounting, love this company, and they do fantastic marketing. And look at this, accounting made for you, the non-accountant. That's what it is, that's who it's for. Send invoices, track time, capture expenses. Those are the benefits right there. And they let you do it painlessly. That's one of the unique differentiators. And look at the trust factors. Join 5 million people using FreshBooks. Watch the TV ad. Here's our toll-free number. Try it free for 30 days. It's just oozing trust. Like you might imagine any company focused on finance would need to, right? And they do it very, very well. So a fantastic example of what you want to shoot for, not the previous slide. Yeah? So the question is, how important are graphics, especially if they don't appear to be contributing to credibility? I'm going to answer that in just a couple slides, actually. It's a great lead-in because my strong position is focus on messaging first, then look at graphics that can support the feeling you're trying to create, but the message itself is far more important. I'll come right back to that. And finally here, Don't Make Me Think. So this is a great book to check out. If you're going to be doing any sort of design yourself, especially web design, Don't Make Me Think is a classic. And just to call out a few highlights, be clear and not cute, right? That example I showed of, building a better tomorrow, whatever it was, that's too cute. And it's not clear. I don't know what he's talking about. Anticipate and address objections. You can be quick and upfront about this. I worked with an MIT startup that was producing a snack bar for pregnant women. Now, what do you think might be an objection that a lot of pregnant women would immediately have to buying a brand new snack bar? What do I need to avoid, right? They're worried about putting stuff into your body that might endanger the pregnancy. That's a huge objection. And you can't just put that on an FAQ somewhere at the back of your website. You've got to address that up front, whatever it might take. FDA approved, tested by thousands of moms. We all love it. Whatever it takes, address those objections up front. Be quick and concise about it to keep people around. Don't think of what else you can add to a site. Think of what else you can remove, because people don't read websites. He's got a great quote in here. After you build out your website pages, go back, remove 50% of the text on the page, and then get rid of half of what's left. And honestly, that's true, because when you're forced to simplify, your message comes through so much clearer. And finally, don't think that you know the best way to present your business. Test it. Usertesting.com is a site I use all the time. They record a video, a screen capture video of someone using your site, performing tasks you ask them to perform, and you get to hear them talking through it. You see what they struggle with. You see what questions they have. And every time you do this, you learn things that you thought were so obvious, they're just simply not intuitive. It helps you iterate and make your site better and better to get that connection. Nothing kills conversions more than confusion, and here's a great example of that. This is a confusing website. We've got downloads, photo galleries, some flags, dollar bills, a giant Roman soldier in the middle. Can anybody tell me what this business, it's a valid, live business, what this business does? What's that? Games would be a great guess. It's not a gaming site. Toys? No. Pawn shop? No. You have to look right in the middle here, tiny text, water treatment chemicals and industrial solutions.
I think the question should be, where did you find this website?
I actually found this a few years ago. I went to Google and did a Google search on worst websites in the world. Seriously, this was one of the ones that came up. It was my favorite. And I've gone back every year to check. It's still live, and this is actually an updated version. Now, keeping this in mind, let's look at a contrasting example of a very clear website. Thermoto, the tiny electrical thermometer for your mobile device that lets you measure the temperature right where you are. Isn't that nice? Simple, clear, easy to understand. Even without the picture, you would get that. But add in the picture, in this case, that very much supports the message, right? And you understand it 10 times faster. Maybe you have some questions about, does it work in Fahrenheit and Celsius? What's the elevation? Fine, there's probably an FAQ for that. But you get what this is about, and you get if you're going to be interested and want to learn more. And right there, buy now. That's the next step. As simple as can be. All right, so in this section we covered, for compelling messaging, how to speak effectively to your prospects. Remember, use their language, not yours. How to craft a unique selling proposition, those 5 critical components. And don't make me think. Make it easy. People don't want to think. Now, for this next part, we're going to talk about engaging presence. How do you build a presence online that is going to connect with these ideal prospects? I'll start with what branding is and isn't. Go into how and where to create an effective marketing presence online and offline. And how to determine the type of website you need. And I'm surprised with how many MIT startups I work with who just go and start creating a website without even thinking, what does it need to do for them? And I'll show some examples so you can figure out what you might need for a website. To start with, your business marketing presence is not a logo, a tagline, or an event. Your business presence is your brand, and that's what people come to think about your company over time. It's the sum total of all their experiences, all the associations they come to make with your product, your service, the way you interact with them. That becomes your brand. It's not any of these little things that we tend to focus on so much. And I'm bringing this up because, again, with these startups who go off and start creating a website, usually the first thing they get fixated on is, how do I create the best logo? Right? They haven't worked out their messaging. They haven't worked out their target markets. They haven't made a sale, but they're fixated on how to create the best logo. And I want to try and make it very clear why that is just not important at all. What do you think of when you see this image? What are some feelings or words that come to mind? Pesticides? Okay, great. What else? There's a good negative one. What else? Quenching my thirst. What else? Yum. I'm a huge fan of Coke. I drank this all through college and ever since. To me, it's refreshing. I have very positive associations. I even think of polar bears, right? You can imagine why. You see that in every movie theater. My wife hates fizzy soda. She would never drink this. This is a very negative association for her. But the point is, none of that came from this image. That came from drinking it for many, many years, from all our experiences with this product. And Coke has spent millions of dollars for many decades trying to associate all those experiences with this image. So now when they show this image, all those experiences come flooding back into your brain, right? And you feel it all intensely right away. But the order is important. They didn't create this image that then created all this brand feeling. They created the brand feeling and tied it to the image. The image is less important. The image comes later. You've got to get the messaging first. You've got to get the markets first. Because I guarantee you that if the Coke can instead looked like this, you would still have exactly the same feelings about it. The image is much less important than we think. So when you get into your business, into your startup, it's harder, but you've got to focus on the research, on the messaging, on the target markets. Worry about making it look pretty later. Because when it comes to branding, you've got so many qualities to think about, so many possibilities, right? What do you want people to think about your company? Do you want them to think that you're innovative? Do you want them to think that you're reliable? Do you offer a personal touch that others don't offer? That you've got the lowest prices? That you've got a mission that's going to save the world, right? You have many options to choose from that you need to create with your strategy, with your messaging. And I guarantee you here too that if you don't decide what others are going to think about your company, they will, right? All this is within your power. I got the question, well, what if I want all of the above? Whoops. What if I want all of these branding qualities to come out in my company? Well, I can understand that, but honestly, most companies don't need that, don't have that, right? If you're good enough in some areas and excel in one, that's how you can stand out. So think about where you really want to excel in your company. Work on delivering that experience and then tie all that back into your business marketing presence. All right. Now, where can you actually build this presence? Online, offline? There are a lot of places you can go. Obviously, websites. You can do videos, blogs, social media. And the main point I want to make here is that, especially in small companies, in startups, we tend to focus on the area that we think we know best, or where we think we can do the best work, or where we think it's going to be the most fun, right? Maybe we love creating videos. Maybe we just want to get in there and start coding a website. But that's the wrong way to pick priorities. Pick your priority based on where your target customers are going to be. If your best customers are going to be people searching on Google every single day, then get that website up. If they're people who are going to want to tell their friends and family about your product, then get on social media, even if you hate social media, right? If they're people who are going to need to meet you in person, hear your voice, shake your hand before they're ever going to buy your service, then you better get out doing workshops, trade shows, and seminars. You've got to figure out first where your target audience is going to be, and then pick your priorities for that. And then, of course, figure out what can you do, what can you handle with the skill set you have in your startup. And finally, what type of business website do you actually need? So I want to show these 4 examples and how different they are, and think about what you actually need for your company. A brochure website is for referring warm prospects. So this is Citigroup, very well-known, established, enormous company. Pretty much everybody who's going to work with them already knows who they are. They just need a website that has the information that they need to get out, right? So if media is coming to them for interviews, there's a link for that. If investors are coming, there's a link for that. Each of these boxes in the middle, if you click on that, it expands to a column, just like opening up a brochure. And that's what this is. It's just a big brochure with a lot of information on Citigroup. And that's all they need. That's all their site does for them. That might be all you need if you're constantly referring warm prospects to your site, right? They're meeting you, they're hearing about you through networking, they already have a favorable view of you, and now they're just coming to learn a little bit more. That's very different from a lead generation website, where you're trying to attract cold prospects who don't know who you are, who have had no experience with you, who are seeing your website probably for the first time. Now you need that USP. Now all those questions have to be answered right away, just like this site does very well in text and visuals, and give a clear next step. Request a demo, right? If their target market sees this page, then they're going to be likely to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. here's the next step. I'm going to request the demo. Now I'm in the sales funnel. Now we can follow up. Right? This is doing the job for lead generation. You can see how different that is from just a simple brochure site, right? Maybe you just need an e-commerce site. If you're just selling products online, you just need a simple way for people to browse your products and check out. It can be as simple as that. Or maybe you need to build a community. WordPress does this fantastically. WordPress.org, one of the biggest community sites in the world. They've got a hugely popular blog, an enormous support center, themes, plugins, help for developers. Their focus on community is what let WordPress become the largest open source content management system in the world for building websites. By far, by orders of magnitude, because they focused on community first. Now I showed these 4 examples, and they look pretty different. Your business may need to combine some of them, and that can work too. But the point is, figure out first what you actually need before you go out and build a website and realize later, oh, this actually isn't helping our business at all. Okay, so in this 4th step, we covered engaging presence, what branding is and isn't, how to create an effective business marketing presence, and how to determine the type of website you need. And now to finish it up for us in this 5th section, I'll turn it back over to Kenny.
Thank you. So we've covered the first 4 sections now. We now need traffic. So we're going to look at channels, finding some effective channels. So in this section, we'll move through it at some pace, and then we'll get to the point where we can answer your questions and tell you where to get these slides. So what are channels? Why choosing the right channel is so important, how to find the right channels for your market. Then we're going to cover how to attract customers super fast using PPC. And then we're going to finish off with how to attract customers on a shoestring with strategic alliances. And I'll show you here how I managed to grow a company using just one strategic alliance and grew it within 2 years and sold it within 2 years as well. So what are channels? Well, they're places or entities that help you get your product or service in front of the right prospects. And this can be anything from SEO, search engine optimization, direct mail, PR, social media, traditional advertising, email marketing, telemarketing, SMS, Amazon, billboards, eBay, influencer outreach, the list goes on. But today we're going to just focus on 2 because they're the most accessible for new startups. The first one is pay-per-click, and the next one will be strategic alliances, as I've just mentioned. So why should you choose the right channel? Well, you will waste time, money, and energy if you use channels where your customers don't hang out, where they're not active as a community. So how do you find the right channels for your market? Well, ask them. Andrew before mentioned, some of the places that you're going to host. So it could be websites, could be webinars, could be any of these places. Well, ask them where they are. Ask them where they want to see your products or to see your content. So you can do this through surveys, using SurveyMonkey, or you can ask them on great questions and answer sites like Quora.com or forums, groups, and also find out where their key influencers hang out. Where are they? If they're on Facebook, then maybe you should be on Facebook. So another really good tool to use to just get some insight as to where your audience might be and what your audience kind of looks like is called SimilarWeb.com. And as they say, get insights for any website or app. And all you do, it's a free tool, by the way, and all you do is add the URL into the search bar there. And again, we're going to use entrepreneur.com. And as you can see there, it tells you the traffic sources. So you've got direct traffic 22%, referrals 7%, search 40%, and social 30%. So there's some good information right away there about your audience. Then it gives geographic regions where this audience is. As you can see, the US dominates this one. Then it gives referring sites. So what sites are sending traffic to your competitor? So as you can see there, Feedly sends this website, entrepreneur.com, lots of traffic. So if that's my competitor, entrepreneur.com, I want to know how to get on Feedly. How do I get my feed on Feedly? And then also on this side, it tells you where entrepreneur.com are sending traffic. So obviously you've got the big social media sites there, but you've also got some obscure ones like Allison.com and Udemy.com, which are online courses. So you've got to wonder why they're sending traffic to these sites. So if that's my competitor, I'm going to be thinking, are they generating extra income there? And is there a way of me generating extra income with these sites? Very useful. And then it shows you similar sites that you can dig even deeper into that audience and do it all again to gather more powerful information on your audience. So we're going to look very quickly now at two very accessible channels, PPC and Strategic Alliances. So what is PPC advertising? Well, PPC is pay-per-click adverts on a site. So traditionally, you would have taken out an advert on a magazine, for example, and you may or may not get a response from that. So you might spend $2,000 on an advert, and you might get a response, or you might not. With pay-per-click advertising, you only ever pay when someone takes an action, so lands on your landing page. So it's a safer bet. So we're going to look at the big three, Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and I'll move through this really quickly. So the good thing about Google advertising is it's a search engine. So you get to target through keywords to target motivation. So if you sell wine and you target the key phrase, buy wine online now, then you're going to be advertising to people who are currently looking for your offer. Whereas it's different if you're advertising on LinkedIn or Facebook. Because when people are on LinkedIn or Facebook, they're not searching for something. They're on there socializing. So you've got to interrupt them with your ad and try and grab their attention, which is nowhere near as powerful as targeting on motivation at the time. So you give people what they want when they want, rather than trying to interrupt them, as I just said. And also shorter sales cycles than Facebook or LinkedIn. So again, if you're targeting on motivation, you can target on keywords where you know that that audience is ready to take action right now. So buy wine online now is one of those examples. Whereas with Facebook and LinkedIn, they're browsing. You don't know whether they're looking for wine or not. 95% of them probably aren't even thinking about wine right now. So again, you've got to interrupt them. You've got to then start building some form of a relationship with them. And there's a greater chance of a fresh audience than Facebook or LinkedIn for this reason. So if someone types in buy wine online now, and then they buy wine online now, then they've bought their wine, and they'll probably stay with that website. And the next person who types buy wine online now is a fresh audience. Whereas with Facebook and LinkedIn, you're limited to a certain amount of people. And what can happen is you get what's known as ad decay, where your ads start rotating around the same people and become less effective, which actually makes your ads more expensive because you get rewarded for a higher click-through rate. So this is what the ads look like on Google these days. They never used to be so prevalent. So you've got ads there at the top, and then you've got all of these on the right-hand side here as well. So this is what it looks like. These days, the ads are tending to take up most of the page. And I've typed in a keyword there as well that's worth pointing out. Chicago, I can't even say that term, but it's a disease, lawyer. And I checked how much that was, that key term for a click. Can anyone guess how much it costs for a click for that key phrase? Just someone have a guess. $400? Nearly $500 for a click on that. That's one click. So if you get 10% if you get a 10% conversion to lead, we're not talking about deal here, it's going to cost you $5,000 per lead. But that tells you how much those cases are worth to those lawyers, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. So let's have a look at Facebook very quickly. Well, Facebook's great because you can target through demographics, psychographics, so their interests, and also their behaviors, which is really powerful. So you can get really relevant, like Andrew said before. Relevancy, creates all sorts of power for you because it gives you, higher conversion, builds that know, like, and trust very quickly. So, for example, if you wanted to advertise to gay men who work at AT&T between the age of 40 and 50 who like watching X Factor, you can do on Facebook these days. So it's very, very powerful. You can import your own database, your own lists, which is really powerful if you want to hit your target audience in multiple places. So you import your email addresses or telephone numbers or both into Facebook. Facebook will cross-check those against their entire user database almost instantly and then allow you to serve ads to those people, which is really powerful. It's known as custom audiences. And this is one of my favorites now. It's called lookalike audience targeting. So if you advertise on Facebook and you manage to get sales or you get leads from those adverts, what it allows you to do is send a message back instantaneously and automatically to Facebook to alert them that that customer has just purchased or become a lead. And then what Facebook does is they say, listen, Kenny, would you like people who have similar behavioral patterns as this person? And I'm like, yes, I would like that. Let me advertise to lots of those people. So it's very, very powerful. And there's a great selection of ad choices, as I'll show you in a minute, allowing more characters. So just let me go back here. If you look at these Google ads, there's only, that you can only have very small titles and very limited amount of characters. So you can't really pre-qualify people very well before they click, which means you can get a lot of wasted clicks. Whereas if we go to Facebook and look at the choices of ads you have with Facebook, if you look in your news feed and you see these sponsored ads, these are the slightly more expensive ads, but they're brilliant. You get all of that space. If you look there, you've got all of that as a description. You've got a big photo, not that this photo is doing much for this. Then you've got a title, and then you've got even more of a description down there, so you can really pre-qualify before they actually click. So when they do click, you've pre-qualified them, so they're going to be a safer bet. And then you can have right-hand side ads here as well, which are slightly cheaper than the newsfeed ads. So let's have a look at LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn has some pros. You can target through job titles and size of business, etc. So it's really good for B2B, for business to business. Now, you can target on job titles in Facebook these days, but not everybody completes that section in Facebook, whereas everyone does on LinkedIn, so it's a lot more accurate. And now offers newsfeed ads like Facebook as well. So LinkedIn is pretty good. You tend to get ad decay a lot quicker because it's a much smaller audience, but it's good if you do B2B. And this is what the ads look like on there. Here's a newsfeed ad. Again, you've got all of that space to work with, so you can pre-qualify again. And then the right-hand side ads aren't very good. They're pretty small on LinkedIn. But you do get the images as well, which are important because they can grab attention. So that was PPC. Let's have a look quickly at how to attract customers with strategic alliances. And I'll show you how I built a company by doing this. So what is a strategic alliance? Well, it's a person or a business with a ready-made target audience who already know, like, and trust them, and they're willing to introduce you to their audience, which is really important if you're just starting out and you've got no money for pay-per-click advertising. This can come in really handy. So why would you use them? Well, usually no upfront costs or risk. You can coattail on the back of their credibility that they've already built up, sometimes over years, to add that instant authority to you and your brand. It's great if you don't already have a list, if you don't already have a database. It's a great way to build a list as well. So how do you find these strategic alliances? How did I do it for my business? Well, there's affiliates. Affiliates are people or businesses, so it can sometimes be individuals, who sell other people's products and services for a commission. They already have their own audience. A lot of bloggers do it, and they will then sell your product for a commission if they like your product, of course. And you can go to places like ClickBank or JVZoo to meet possible good fits to sell your products or services. Professional platforms like LinkedIn and Referral Key. And associations, groups, masterminds, online groups and forums, and particularly the leaders of these groups, the moderators. They're really good people to get in touch with, especially if your brand, your product is going to help their audience, because they get a win-win. They help their audience and they look good in front of their audience, and also they make a commission as well. And that's how you incentivize them. You can do it as pay-per-lead if you're a little bit more advanced and you know that your website converts really well and you trust their traffic. You can pay per landing page visit, which again is a bit more advanced. Do straight swap referrals. I've got a friend who's a business finance broker, and he does straight swap referrals with accountancy firms, and it works really well for him. Or you can do what I like to do, which is pay per deal. So once you've got a deal and the money is in your bank, you then give them the commission, which is the safest possible route. Now, I had a company called DomainFace, and what it did, it aggregated all the different domain names that people were selling on auction sites around the world. So lots of different auction sites, GoDaddy, Cedo.com, and lots of others. And also domain names that were about to expire. And what it did is it pulled them all into one place, and then also gave domainers, people who buy and sell domains, gave them more details on the domains. So how old the domains were, how many backlinks they had on the domains, and all of this wonderful stuff. And they could search by a keyword, and it was a really good tool. And I was at a conference, and I met someone called Eugene Ware, who was the CEO of Market Samurai, which is a market research tool. And at that point, it was a very well-established market research tool for marketers. And I said to him, have you ever thought about adding a domain function? Kind of what we do. And he said, we're actually working on it at the moment, but we're right at the beginning. And I said, well, why don't you integrate with our data rather than going through the process of building your own tool? And he thought it was a great idea. So we did the deal. And at the time, Market Samurai had about 500,000 members. They've got well over 1 million now. We gained 50,000 members within 18 months of integrating them. So we went from something ridiculous like 30 members or something to 50,000, which was a big strain on us at the time. And they earned 50% of all of those sales. We did a really good, generous deal with them that really motivated them to take action, because we were pretty scared that they were going to set up their own tool and go against us, which wouldn't have been good for us. So we found a win-win situation. And then we sold the business to one of our competitors who just had a big investment into them, just 2 years from inception, because that competitor wanted all of those members really quickly so that they could grow really quickly. So that is strategic alliances. So in this fifth and final step, we covered what are channels, why choosing the right channels is important, how to find the right channels for your market, how to attract customers super fast with PPC, and then how to attract customers on a shoestring with strategic alliances. And I would really highly recommend strategic alliances when you're just starting out.
Thanks, Kenny. All right, I'm going to wrap up the presentation in just one more minute, and then we'll open it up for about 5 minutes of audience questions. And then Kenny and I will stick around for as long as you guys would like to chat down here about your own particular business. So we covered quite a broad range of topics today. You can pick any of these. We could do a whole day seminar on it, right? So obviously we just scraped the surface. We wanted to try to give you a sense of some of the most important things to think about for your marketing as a startup. And so hopefully we're able to help you there. If you'd like some additional help, Kenny and I would both like to make ourselves available to you for a complimentary strategy call. And if you noticed on the papers we put out at the beginning, we like two things actually, two favors. One is please write down your feedback for us. Let us know how this was for you, what you think we did well, what you think we could improve on for the next time. And if you'd like either of us to contact you about this complimentary call, just put your information at the bottom, check the box, and we'll be sure to do that. And we do specialize in different areas. So Kenny has a coaching business. He brings a lot of business owners through group calls, some private coaching, to teach them how to do this marketing themselves, whereas I do the marketing for my clients. So depending on what you're looking for, depending on what you heard today, you might prefer to talk to Kenny or me, and that's fine, whatever you'd like to do there. All right, so that is our presentation. I'd like to open it up for just a few minutes of audience questions. Yes? So the question is about the importance of images, names, and messaging. And I would say that generally, yes, the most important thing is your messaging. Who you're going after, how you're talking to them, what's special about you, all that. Everything else needs to derive from that. If you work out your messaging and your strategy first, it'll be a lot easier to pick the right name and a lot easier to pick the right images. And yeah, make no mistake, people spend a lot of time on naming and images. Just make sure you do it in the right order.
Okay, so the question is, would we advise people using Kickstarter to get their product out there and to create a really good buzz? Absolutely. Yeah, totally. It's great places, lots of good places now. But one thing I would say about Kickstarter, I've got a friend in the UK who owns a really powerful business called Bank to the Future, which is like Kickstarter on steroids because it allows people to invest as little as £10 and actually get an equity stake, whereas Kickstarter is generally, a part of their product. They will get, one of their products if they invest there. What he says is those people who really do very well on those sites are people who have already got some level of a PR campaign in place, or they've already got a list that they've built up. They've already created buzz beforehand. Because there's so many people on there these days, you can't just rely on Kickstarter to promote and get behind your product. Does that make sense? Okay, so I think the question there is, how do you avoid ad decay? Is that what you're saying? So how do you avoid customers getting fatigued from seeing too many of your ads on Facebook or LinkedIn, for example? Andrew has a wonderful statistic on this.
Yeah, so how many of you click on paid ads on Google? Nobody, really. A couple hands, a few people admitting it. So let me tell you, research done just 2 years ago uncovered that when people are doing searches with high commercial intent, meaning they're looking to buy something soon, they click on paid ads 67% of the time. 2/3 of the clicks are on those paid ads. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, but you may think you don't click on the paid ads. When you've got your wallet out, you do. All right, so we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys for being a great audience, and we'll be here for any additional questions you might have.